Welcome back. In this tutorial we're gonna make a base texture. We'll begin with a render cloud. This gives us a nice uh, random picture which tiles on all sides. You can use the two color swatches that you have on the sides to use the random colors that are being used in the render clouds. After render cloud we can go into the filter gallery. Here we have a lot of filters which have very random effects. Here we can create a very basic texture. For the concrete on the walls we have kind of a dripping effect, where the concrete, when it was still wet, well, fell down, dripped down, and made this stripy effect. After you're done with the base texture, put it in a texture library that we're using. Okay, now we go over to edge definition. For edge definition, you can think of like smudges, decay, water being over the surface, leaving big stains, light having its tool, making the object more white in certain places, and less saturation. Also, when we're having paint, paint over time chips off or becomes less, and you can see the underlying surface. Most of the time this can be caused by water or by light. You can see me painting smudges of this brush to mimic the falling of water and light chipping off the paint. Always do it a bit more extreme than you wanted, so you can always slide back to what you want it to be by just adjusting the opacity of the layer. Keep on checking what you have done, so you can be happy with it or not and decide based on that. See if it's tiling, very important. Also adding some extra cavities between the rocks adds more the effect of it being made by people and not being placed by a CG artist. These can be very minor things. Try to fade them into the background though. You don't want people to look at these things too much, but like in the subconscious mind that they're there. From a distance we don't want the bricks to be seen, only close up, so really try them to be like faded in. Okay, adding more definition from the top. Try to get a library of custom brushes. A lot of smudging brushes could do a great job in what we're doing. There's a lot of free ones on the internet. For the Romanus project I will put some on SVN. People can download them. Now we're gonna create some detail on the bricks on the bottom of the mesh. These bricks will most of the time be stepped on or damaged for some kind of reason because they're on the bottom and sticking out of the mesh. So you can go wild with the damage here. I do the damage with ambient occlusion now. Later on we'll use this layer for the normal maps. It is the basic technique or the same technique that I used for the bricks behind the concrete plaster. Always keep tuning the effects if you're not happy with them. Come back later if you're still not happy with them and you see some artifacts. But always keep improving the texture. Keep looking at it and changing it. Try to use the wireframe while you're texturing, but do know that while we're using a lot of overlapping shapes, see first which wireframe is which part of the mesh. This can help with a lot of problems that might happen. Like you see the one I have now, where I thought there was an edge there, but it was just the wrong wireframe for a different part of the mesh. Later on, if we're gonna export to UDK, don't forget to save as a Taga. JPEG can resolve in some issues with UDK, so try to keep that in mind. Okay, now the edge definition is done. We're gonna continue with ambient occlusion. There is two ways we can do ambient occlusion: baking it, which we use a high mesh and a low mesh, and then we throw it in X normal, and we can fake it by painting it in with Photoshop like we did earlier. And there's another method which uses a height map or a grayscale map. We can convert that to a normal map using the plugin of X normal in Photoshop. Well, let's begin making the high mesh for the normal bake. And this can just be done in Maya. You can also sculpt it in ZBrush. But for now, we'll just use Maya. Just take the low res mesh, make sure they have the same UVs, otherwise this can result in some errors later. Just make the details that you want so we can bake them. I'll make just some extra bricks detail that are nicely sticking out, and they have some cavities between them. For other models you can do any kinds of details, to little ornaments, to like big patterns. You can bake them with this. But don't go too insane because the bake can take quite a while sometimes, especially when you're having 4K maps and that kind of stuff. Okay, to install XNormal, make sure you have the newest NVIDIA drivers. Otherwise, you will have quite some issues, and check the in which Photoshop folder it's saved, the plugin, because this gave me a lot of time to find out. Also, XNormal uses OBJs. Make sure you activate the Maya plugin and save a low version. Just use the name convention low for that, and a high res version with the name convention high in the same folder as you made the models and all the other files are in. Drag these into XNormal for the low one. Make sure you activate the tangent normals, otherwise you'll have some issues and get a different kind of normal map. Then go to tools and try to raycast the mesh so it makes a case. Then go to baking options, activate normal map, ambient occlusion, and the height map. Let it bake all out. Make sure you save it at the right path. And then check the result in Maya again. Get the low res mesh. Check with all the maps it put out. Sometimes they can be a bit corrupt or there's weird artifacts happening in the maps. You might want to change some stuff or do the ray tracing again, because those two can give most of the errors. Okay, let's put every map that came out in the texture folder or texture file. Let's put in the normal maps to give them the standard normal color as background. Well, let's do the normal maps later in a later video. Now let's continue with ambient occlusion. The ambient occlusion bake wasn't too good, so we're manually gonna change that. We're gonna copy part of it everywhere because this ambient occlusion isn't too complicated. Delete most of the old one. Copy this one around on the bottom to give just the extra definition for the bricks. We want the cavities. Okay, make sure the white is out. And we're gonna overlay this onto the old one. Make sure it's also in a separate folder because you want to be able to turn the ambient folder off and on. There's now a pretty hard edge. We can easily get this out by making a mask and going with the not so hard brush over the edge, smoothing it into the actual brick part where the ambient occlusion would happen. Smooth out. Make sure this is on the mask so you always can get the old one back. Okay, for the other part, the ambient occlusion didn't work either, but we can harvest at least most of the detail. So we copy that, stretch it, make sure it tiles. This one is just a subtle gradient, so it should work. It's better maybe to make your own gradient with the tools in Photoshop to get a better effect, but for now we'll just use this one. Okay, let's continue on the next topic.